Welcome to jobskillshare.org. This is going to be a lab hands-on video for people who are taking Active Directory user management course. As you can see, there's 5,000 people, and I usually get a lot of calls or requests on, about adding a computer to a domain controller. So a lot of people actually are not following this in a sequence, which is this course first, and then you come to the Active Directory from this course, and this is where you learn the virtual stuff. So then a lot of people miss these things, but I'm not gonna get into that because maybe you do want to look into the lab on your own computer, and if you don't know, remember we have our own labs too. So if you are interested in getting a domain controller from your web browser without doing all this work, then we give you in each lab, every course, each specific lab, you get a domain controller, member server, another server, and 3 different clients. And this is why we think this is the best value, because for skills you don't need to know in an entry level position. You actually are not creating domain controllers, or you're not creating servers. You're actually working on clients and how to connect them to the domain. So you will learn all of that stuff over here. This is about $48,000 plus value right here. So that's why we think this is very, very powerful for people to get these labs. And you become a premium member, you get access to all of these labs for 1 year. So let's say you know about this stuff and you say, I don't care about this stuff, let's just close this. And now you really want to do this on your own machine. How do I do this on my own machine? Now there are a few things, and that's why I kind of talked about the labs again, because if you are going to be doing it on your own computer, then you're going to need this type of requirements. Now, of course, my computer is pretty much, this laptop is kind of like on a beast mode already. It's 32 gigs on a 64, and it's a signature. So this computer will take it. This computer will take a lot of virtual stuff that I'm going to create today, in this lab. But maybe if you have 16 GB and 64-bit computer, then that still is going to really be, you can really do a lot of things with it. But if you have a 8 gigs, RAM, then you're going to be struggling, but you can still do it. But if it's less than that, I don't think you should try this, because you're going to have struggle with this, because Windows Server 2016, 2012, and then putting a client like a Windows 10, it's just not going to work easily. Probably you can try it, I'm not sure, but you're going to have issues. So I'm not going to get into that. If you want to really follow this, then your computer should have at least 8 gigs above, 16 best, 32. I mean, yeah, it's great. So how do you get started? First, you need to have some type of virtual environment to run a domain controller for practice. Now, this is by no means installing a domain controller. If you want to learn about installing a domain controller, then go for the labs, because that's where you learn about the servers step by step. We are not going to cover anything that is going to be formal installation. It is going to be just for your lab environment for this course, so you can do Active Directory user management in this lab. So first, you need to understand that you need to have a virtual environment on this machine, so then you're not messing around with your main machine or your home machine or your own network, whatever. So the first thing you need to do is to go to Microsoft and download the ISO file. So you're going to type download Windows 2016. You're going to click on this. Then it will ask you to log in. Basically, it'll ask you for the you'll go to the Microsoft like this. You'll open Windows Server 2016, and then you click on start or try. I think the try one, yeah, you click on that. Then you get this start evaluation, and then here you will click on ISO. You need to click on this to do it on your own machine, and then click on continue. And when you do continue, it's going to ask you about questions and stuff like that, some form you need to fill out. And then when you click on OK, then it will download the ISO, as you can see right here. And and you need a Microsoft account to log in and download this, because I think it's going to ask you to log in first. So you need an Outlook or live.com, whatever Microsoft account you have, you can log in and download that. So next, you need a virtual environment. So we're going to use which is free, Virtualbox. So we call it Virtualbox from Oracle. So see Oracle VM Virtualbox. So we are going to install this. You're going to click on that, and then what we're going to do is, after that, we're going to download it. And I am using a Windows environment, so I'm going to click on Window, and then you will see that VirtualBox is also getting installed on your machine. So we are going to first install the VirtualBox, and then we are going to download and run the Windows server on it. So let's go ahead and turn this on. And again, now you're actually creating a virtual environment on your own laptop. So you're gonna need, when I was talking about the resources, that's where you're going to need that. So click next install, say yeah, and it's a pretty quick process, pretty powerful to learn this stuff, because you can do a lot of things. Learning wise, you can do a lot of things. So then we're gonna click on finish, and now VirtualBox is getting ready. It's ready right now. So as you can see, I have this one from before. I'm gonna remove that, I don't need it. Okay, so here what you need to start, when you start this, we're going to click on new, and here we're going to call it server 2016. And because it's server and it's 64-bit, we're going to call it Windows 2016 server. It have this, and we're going to click next. Now if you don't see 64-bit, this means your computer needs to be turned into a 64-bit, or maybe your computer is too old and you need a new machine. So now this is where I was talking about, why you need a memory. Like, for example, I have so much to give this machine. Like I can go all the way up and give it like 20,000 MB, and I can go here, like, let's say I can give it 8 GB RAM, if that's like around 8 GB RAM, then it goes up in a 16, I can do that. So for this machine, I'm just gonna keep it 8. I just kind of put my mouse. For now, I'm just like, here, if you put 8048, and that's gonna be like around 8 gigs. So I can do that, I can remove that, and I can say 8048, and then I'm going to click next. Now again, your computer also needs to have some space, and of course, you're installing something on your machine, and that is virtual machine may not require that much space, but a lot of people will like, now you don't want to create a problems for yourself, so then you always want to give it at least 30 gigs or above. So that's better. You can also go down, but I think you should stick with the 30 gigs. So your machine, whatever your hard disk is, it needs to have that space, right? So that's another thing you need to worry about when you're doing it on your own. My computer have 1 TB SSD, so for me it's pretty easy to give a lot of space. Another thing about it, if it's not SSD, what's the difference? SSD is going to be really fast. If it's a normal hard drive, then yeah, it's going to be a little slow. So keep that in mind. So here you just click the virtual disk image. So the next step is what disk you want to give it. Like, do you want to give it fixed or dynamic? Choose dynamic, it is faster. Fixed is it will tell you right here, it's taking longer, but it's faster to use. So I mean, both have advantages. If you want to do something for lab, then go with dynamic because it's going to be quick. If you want to keep things faster, then do fixed, and it's going to take a long time. So here we have this right now. We're going to click on that to see how quickly it created. If it was fixed, then you had to wait a little bit. So now this is like your kind of like a template is ready. At this point, you have not attached your ISO, which is like, I would call it a CD, just to keep things simple. That's kind of like your internal CD in your machine, like a file, So here I'm going to click on settings, and because we want to run this, we want to give it a network connection and everything, because I don't want to create a separate network. I want to give it the same connection. I'm going to first go to network, and you see it says NAT. I am going to change that to bridge adapter. And when I do bridge adapter, you see it's going to pick up my USB, your network card or network Ethernet, wherever your network is connected. If you have multiple, then you need to choose the one that's working, okay? Because this is going to grab your IP address from your local router, and then you will be able to use it over here. And if you install more machines, you will be able to use all these machines together. Maybe you have a physical machine that you want to connect to this as a client, then you can use that. And make sure when you click on advanced, the cable is connected, so then this way you can have this working. So right now I'm done with this part, so I'm going to click on OK. And when I click on start, the first thing it's going to ask me that where's the ISO, what do you want to do. Like, for example, this is Debian, I'm not using that. I just downloaded the Windows server. So I'm gonna go to the server, download, and go all the way down here. It should be here. Here you go, and I picked that. Now remember, this is the one that you downloaded it, right? You click on start, and now it is going to start the installation for the server. Okay, so as you can see, it just started. I can play around with this stuff. I mean, you can do full screen, you can do all these different type of screens if you want to. You see, this one is probably not the good one. Oh yeah, it is a good one. So when I did that one, you see I can now move up and down. So that's pretty cool. So this is your normal server installation now. You could have done the same thing. Maybe you can burn that ISO to a DVD or a USB and plug it into a real machine and just start that machine from this ISO or USB, and then you will be seeing the same thing. So you're going to be physically installing, you know, that this operating system will take over that server. Right now it is taking over this right here, this virtual environment, and you are not messing around with your computer. So here we're going to click next. We're going to click install now. And now we are installing server. Now remember, if you're on SSD, this is gonna really work fast. If you are on a normal hard drive, then it's gonna be slow. So just keep these two things in mind. If wherever you are, that's why you are you will have either having trouble or you're gonna be fast. So here we need to have a desktop because we need a GUI. If you do this, you're not going to see kind of like the GUI, which is more of like everything you see, and you need PowerShell skills for this to run a lot of things. So you need to actually pick this one, okay? And then you're gonna click on next, and then click I accept, next, and here you're gonna click on custom because we don't have anything to upgrade. We're going to click on custom. Remember, this is the 50 GB that we gave from our laptop, desktop, whatever you have, and then you're gonna click on next. And right now the server is getting installed on this machine. Once this is done, then we're gonna go ahead and make this a domain controller. And after that, I am going to create a client machine, so then you can actually practice. And that's why I said you need to have a lot of memory, RAM, all this kind of stuff, because now you're gonna go for client 2. You're gonna get the resources from your main machine and then use the client. Now remember why I said labs are good, because you get many servers, many clients from a web browser, and it's pretty much like, you know, worth it. So when everything is done, you really don't have to do anything. It's kind of like automatic process right now, and when the server restart multiple times, it's going to do this like, you know, first screen where you will put your username and password. We are going to make this server a domain controller right after we get in this server. A few things we have to make sure we do it before we make it a domain controller. Like, again, this is a lab, so this is going to be a very, like, you know, basic stuff. It's not the way you would be doing a real domain controller though. Okay, alright, so our server is up and running. Now we need to first create an administrator account password. So I'm gonna create something simple. Okay, we're going to click on finish. Alright, as you can see, our machine is up. Now remember, when we changed the view, you are not seeing the menu, and you will need that because you are now at the point of Control Alt Delete. If you do that on your keyboard, it's going to just do it on your own machine. You have to do it inside the Virtualbox. So on your right side of your keyboard, press Control plus C at the same time. You're going to get back to that small window which we didn't want it before. So we get back to that now. So now you see we have that, and your input Alt Control Delete is in keyboard, and then you're gonna click on Insert Control Alt Delete. So for example, if I do that right now, you can see it's going to work inside this Virtualbox, and I can go back to Control C, switch, and now I'm back here. Here I'm going to put my password. Hopefully it works. So it works. I am getting into the server. Just FYI, if you're not seeing those input, all these things on the top, you actually have to go back to the Virtualbox, save that Virtualbox, go to the settings. In the settings, let me see if you have to save it. I'm not sure, maybe, yeah, I think you have to save it and reopen it again. But these are the inputs. So if you click on it, it's just going to disappear. So if you see like, oh, I'm not seeing the input, then you have to click on this to turn it on, like that. Okay, because these are all your user interface coming from your settings. So just a little hint if you are taking your hair off, like why it's not showing up. So now we have our server running. Because we did a adapter, you remember, it's getting an IP address from our local router. So it is getting an IP address because I see that network is working. If you see a yellow triangle over here and you do a CMD, or you try to go to a internet and it's not working, that means you have probably forgot that option. So at this point we have a working server. This is not a domain controller at this point. We're going to turn it into domain controller, but first we need to change the name, because the name we need to make it short, because it comes with its own generic type of name, and they're pretty big. So we're going to go to settings. As soon as I went to right here, we're going to go to actually computer management, not settings, computer management. And now I'm in the computer management. You see, this is what I was talking about, and this is the RAM that I assigned it to. And now we are going to turn this from work group to its own domain controller. So I'm going to do change settings first, and I'm going to name it description DC. Let's just change name over here. So just description will not work. Make sure you come over here, and then we're going to say OK. And this will say that your computer name is changed. You want to restart this machine. We're going to say yes, apply. And I'm going to restart this server, and then I'll come back to this again. So I just changed the name basically. I didn't do anything else. The first thing I did was just change the name and restart the server. Okay, we're gonna log in again.
So your server is up right now. We have to make it a domain controller. In the lab environment, you need to do certain things to make it work, or maybe you may not have any issues if you do these things. So the first is to let's disable the IPv6 and turn off the firewall, because you're working everything on your laptop, then your virtual machine. In real world environment, you usually don't do these kind of things. So yes, these are the things that you'll just do in the lab, but in real world environment, you have to do a lot of different things to make a domain controller work. Again, this is not the topic of this video. It's just for your Active Directory stuff. So we're going to go to your Ethernet, click on that, go to properties. In the properties, disable IPv6 and click OK. And then what you want to do is just click on search, type firewall, like that. Once you type firewall, just wait a second. And usually I wait for there should be a different one, like the main one. But anyways, you can click on this one too. When you click on that, it will open up this right here. Click on inbound. Let me see if this is the correct one. Actually, yeah, you have to click on the top one right here and go to the firewall, Windows Firewall Properties, and make sure when you click on that, and then you want to make sure that you want to turn off each, like that. Click on Apply. Domain profile is off. Private profile is off. Now some of the things may be unnecessary. I just said I'm kind of like taking a precaution, just kind of like make sure that we don't have any issues. So we just turn that off, and the last thing I want to do is to go to the system, open the system, click on remote settings, and in remote settings click on allow and click OK, and then we're going to click apply and OK to get this working basically, because right now what happened, well, we want to make a connection to this virtual machine from your own network, from anywhere inside your home, right? So you want to do CMD, and then you'll do ipconfig. ipconfig. So if you notice, the IP address of this machine is 1.253. So on my home machine, I'm going to go ahead and click on CMD, and now I'm going to do I'm going to do ping DC. So you see the DC, first it is knowing that there's a DC computer out there. So it picked that IP address correctly. You can see that they're matching. And now it is also replying to it too, because you can see there's zero loss. So this way I can ping, I was able to talk to this machine, I was able to talk to this machine by typing the IP address, by pinging just the name. And I can do the same with the IP. So if I do ping 192.168.1.253, I should be able to do that. So you can see both way I'm getting this. That's important because when you try to connect the client to the domain controller, then that's where you're going to need that talking between each other, okay? So now we're done with that. Now we need to jump into our server manager. In the server manager, we are going to click on manage. We're going to click on add roles and features. And now we're going to click on next, next. Just click on next. You see, that's why I say it's important, because that's what your domain controller name is going to be, next. And here we are going to pick on Active Directory Domain Services. So that's it. We're going to click on that, and it's going to pick its own roles. That's what you need, all of this stuff for domain controller. We're going to click next, and it's going to throw a lot of warnings and errors because we're not in a real environment. So here you can actually export the whole configuration in a PowerShell. So next time when you want to do this, you can do this in one click. If you want to do that, you can do that, and we'll click on install right here. So right now we are installing, we're turning this machine into a management machine. So next time when you install clients or whatever you want to install, everything can be managed from this server. So I'm going to wait on that to finish, and then we'll come back. So while we are installing this, why not jump into, downloading Windows 10 for client, because we need to now practice on something, right? And try to create the same scenarios. So you're going to go to the Windows 10 Enterprise Evaluation on Google, and then go to the Microsoft site. You're going to see this, log in, fill out the form, download it. I already did that. And I'm going to go into my Virtualbox, and now I'm going to create a client machine, which is, I'm going to call it Windows 10. And you see on the bottom, it just changed it automatically. Here, I'm going to give it the same way. I'm going to give it at least 8 gigs. Remember, this is where you get stuck if you have a machine that is running 8 gigs and you're trying to play around with this with 2 gigs, and now your main machine is also struggling. That's why I said why we prefer labs. So I'm going to click next and quickly just breeze through this. I'm going to click settings, the same settings that I'm doing, because I want to be connected to the same network. Bridge adapter, okay. And I'm going to click start, and I'm going to pick an ISO for now Windows 10. I already downloaded that. So I'm going to go and open that, go down, and this is the one I have. And even it says client in there. And now we have a Windows 10 installation started, and that's going to finish up while we jump into our server. It is still running that. We still have to wait for that. And let's see what we have here. So basically, I'm going to do the same steps on a Windows 10 machine, and then I'm going to connect this to this domain controller, and then you can practice on Active Directory for 180 days or 90 days. That's why we're doing this. Alright, I'm not going to move the Windows to here because I already know what I'm doing. Install now. You're going to be doing the same thing. If you want to do this too with Control C, I think we can do that. And I can make it bigger. Whoops, not like that. So there you go. Accept, next. Custom, because we are doing a fresh. Pick this 50 GB, next. And this should be after this, kind of like an automated process. And that's it. I'm just going to wait on this. And still waiting on this. Okay, at this point, our server is done with basic information, but we still need to promote the server to a domain controller. So we need to click on this to finish the installation for this, and it's going to ask you for another wizard. And here you're going to get some information like what do you need to name this. So remember, this is a new domain controller. We're not adding this, so this is going to become a forest. But you have to wait. You see this little bar is going through right now. You have to wait a little bit for this option to be enabled. So we have to wait for that. And I'll keep pausing it because you see, even with a 32 GB RAM computer at SSD running these 3 things at the same time, it is still kind of like my machine is screaming right now. So that's another warning for people, because if you have a slower computer, you may be a little bit kind of like, at the point that you may want to shut down or something. So you just have to be patient. Just wait for these things to finish. So you can see now it's enabled. Add a new forest. Now this is the part where, what do you want to call this domain name, so I'm just going to call it headquarter HQ jobskillshare.org, or you can call it local.local. So then you click on next. And here you're going to get some more information. So remember, this is the part where if you want to become a system administrator, then you may be kind of interested in knowing all this stuff. But at this point, like we already talked, that this is not a part of this, lab. This is just for you to practice on Active Directory. So I'm just going to do, and you're going to follow. So put the password in there, click next. Don't change anything. And here you're going to get this little, message. As you can see, you can't click on this because you don't have a DNS, but it will pick its own DNS. Cannot be created because of other. So it's going to, when you click on next, it is just going to create one. Here you're going to get this another message. This is going to be important also, so try to keep this the same or smaller, like, initials. I'm going to call it HQ again, because you see it's going to pick its own right here, but you don't want to change that. Just keep it like that. Click next. This is important when you try to add a client to a domain controller and things like that. So now it's creating a database log file automatically. Don't worry about this stuff. Click next, and that's it. You're gonna get some yellow options because of the DNS stuff. don't worry about that either, and just click on next, and that's it. I'm just gonna wait on this to finish up now. So here it is. Alright, so click on install, don't change anything. So when it's finished, it's going to automatically restart. You're going to get this message, and now this is going to get restarted, and this becomes a domain controller. This is all you need on this side for now. And if you jump into our client machine, it is already done, almost done. So that's good. We're going to spin up domain controller, and we're going to set up our client machine, and then we're going to connect them together. Okay, this is also done. We're going to restart that so we can get things quickly. Oh, I'm going to wait on this to come up, and we will log in and proceed. Okay, so do you notice that it says HQ/? This means that this is joined to that when we created the domain. So now we are going to log in with our same password. So this user becomes a domain controller, right? Sorry, domain admin. Come on. What did I do? Okay, I was putting a wrong password. First mistake. So here, you see right here, it's saying that HQ/administrator. Now, just for, scenario purposes, I'm going to add a new account, so that will also teach you how to create a domain admin account, because this account, I know you can use the same account, but it's just better to, let's just give it a good scenario, because nobody uses these type of accounts. They're going to give you a help desk account or something else, so you should know how they created this whole thing. So now we're going to log in, and you see the server is the same. There's no difference, but you'll quickly find out that you have so much in now, this becomes more of a management server. They got all these features now. We just added that. So you can do a lot of learning on this. Group policy, file server, so many different things, print server. So when you click on tools now, you see all of this. So it came up, and this is what we are interested in this lab, users and computers. So when we click on that, we should see hq.jobskillshare.org. So it's going to be a little slow. Remember, I'm running 3 things at the same time on this machine. But again, even with this much resources, this computer is still struggling. So now we could do a lot of other things. Maybe we can, give it more CPUs, vCPUs, and stuff like that. But it's out of the scope of this lab at this point. I just want to stick to creating accounts quickly and working on Active Directory. I'm just going to pause this so it comes up. And also, I'm recording on top of this, so again, when you're recording things, that's another thing then. So you see, your domain is ready. This is how you're going to see in your company. That's how they did it. Of course, they did a lot of other things before this, but that's the basic things you just not know, that how they created the Active Directory. And here's the users right here. You should see the computers right here. So this computer, the DC, domain controller should be under domain controller here. It is running really slow at this point for me. I'm just going to pause the recording again. So it's right here in the domain controller, but we're interested in users. So here is your administrator user right here, but we're going to create a new one. So you can right click in here, you can right click on the folder, you can go on the top right there, and here we're going to click on new, we're going to click on user, and we are going to name this help desk, help, and the last name is desk, and the account, we're just going to call it help desk, and we're going to click next, and this is where you learn all this stuff in the course. So I'm not going to go through or explain this stuff, or else this video will never finish. So this stuff you learn in the course, Active Directory User Management. Next, and then you click on Finish. So I created this user, but I want to make it a domain admin so then we can add people to it. So then you're going to go to Properties, that's another task. You'll get a call someday. Can you add this person to a domain controller, or this group or that group? It's a very common call. So right now he's a normal user, but I'm going to make him a domain admin. So by going here and just doing that, this person can now go to any machine and, add them to our domain. This guy has a lot of powers now, because he can install softwares on a computers and do all that things just by going to any network managed computer, and he can do things. So that's done. So at this point we are done with the domain controller side. You really don't need to do anything else. Now the rest is in the course. You learn that in the course, groups and all that kind of stuff, and in the help desk course too, group policies and stuff like that. And also, if you come to YouTube and do this, Job Skills Share Help Desk, if you do this, then you will find this video, Help Desk Lab Training Part 1 and Part 2. If you watch this, you're going to learn even more stuff related to, help desk and practicing on a domain connected environment, because that's exactly what we do at work, kind of like skills. So you should be able to use the same lab, and while you're watching this, you can do the same thing on these labs. So I'm going to wait on this one to come up because it's taking a lot of time, and I'm going to pause this video. So right now I'm going to set up the Windows 10 machine. Click yes. This is just a basic setup, so I'm going to quickly go over it. And then I'm going to do a few things in this operating systems to make it work with our domain controller. So remember, this is the one that I'm creating right now. This is already done. We're gonna jump in. So yeah, this is done. Let's go and back. So you're going to get this message. We are going to see right here, domain join instead. You're going to click on that. So who's going to use this PC? For now, I'm just going to call it admin. Click next, and I'm going to give it a password. So this is a local password right now. So this computer is not added to the domain because let me see if I put the wrong password. Okay, so here you'll just put the security questions, and we're going to move on. Just going to click no to that. You can click yes. I mean, this is just basic settings, so whatever you want to choose. I'm just going to make it come up quickly so then we can add this. I'm just going to click accept for now. So I don't know what happened. It actually asked me to create an account again and did the whole process again. So I just made a new account. I did not shut this down though, because you don't want to shut it down while this is getting in this stage. Usually it will get corrupted and you have to do all of this installation again. So let's see what happens now. This is almost ready. Okay, as you can see, it's ready, and it also got an automatic IP address because we did the same network. We're going to say yes to that, and here we are going to right click on it, and we will click on system. And in the system, we are going to go to remote. Actually, no. We're going to right click and we're going to go to computer management. I always get confused because I got used to Windows 7 so much, and sometimes I feel like it was system, sometimes different. But you see, we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to change this name to something simple, and then we are going to also do some firewall changes for it to have no issues in the lab environment. Again, warning, this is just lab environment, so you have to keep your, whatever setting your admins are using in your company, you're going to use that. But for lab, you can use the same thing that what I'm doing right now. So when you open the computer management, you see that your help desk account that you created on a domain controller will not work because it's not in the local users right here. So you only have, these are your local users that I just created on this machine. So what we're going to do first is to make it work. First, we need to disable firewall on this to make sure we have no issues. That's going to be really slow again. Okay, so we're going to go and turn off the firewall. So just come here, turn Windows. Let's say here, let's turn it off. I'm going to turn this off. And what we're going to do after this, we are going to rename this machine. I went to systems, right click here and go to systems, rename this PC. We're going to name it staff. We'll say next. And I'm going to say restart later because I want to do one more thing to find an option that I was actually looking for. So here, I'm just going to search it, remote desktop settings, change here, allow access to your computer, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to click on that. And here you go, you got the same. You see, this is what I was looking for, but I couldn't find it, so yeah, found it here, apply, and you're going to say OK. And now, I'm going to go ahead and restart this machine. Whoops. So I did a Control C to get back to my Alt Control Delete. I'm going to go and do that. Actually, I'm in there. So now I'm going to put my password for the admin. Remember, this computer is not joined to the domain yet. That's what we're doing. This is why we're doing all this stuff in the home lab environment. You usually don't come across all of these things. You don't do these kind of things in your main working environment where the lab that I showed you before is kind of like how work is configured. That's why we think our labs are really powerful, because you don't come across some of these things and people get confused. So, but again, this is a home lab, so we're going to do all this stuff. So right now I'm going to switch back to a little bit better view. Okay. Alright, so with Windows 10, it's a little tricky now because they give you so many options to sign into the machines. So to add this to a domain, this is an enterprise Windows 10, so it may be a little different in Windows 10 Pro. You have to search how to join your version of Windows to the domain controller. In this case, enterprise one would be settings. In the settings, I mean, there definitely are easy ways to do this, but I want to show you how to do it in the GUI first. And later on, I can show this other one. You're going to go to accounts. In accounts, you're going to go to access work or school. And here, when you click on connect, first it's gonna basically try to make you log in with a Microsoft account. That's where they're pushing everything. But since we don't want that, they're still gonna give you an option. So you see right here, join this device to a local Active Directory domain. Click on that. And this is the piece where we were waiting for. So here you are going to type HQ, because remember, that's what we put. So HQ cannot be found. And remember, I'm actually showing this. So with Windows 10 Enterprise and with any newer version of Windows, you have to kind of look where you can add your computer to the domain. It may be different for your computer as a pro or home, or maybe something will change after this video. But for now, you just right click on Windows Settings, and I'm on Enterprise. Remember, if you're doing it on Pro, you have to search on Google how to do it on Pro. You're gonna go to Accounts, and it may be the same way, Access Work or School, and here you'll click on Connect, and they will still give you an option to add your computer to the Active Directory, local Active Directory, because we are on a local. Our Active Directory, when I say Active Directory, it's running. This is a domain controller now. We're trying to connect this machine to this machine so it can be managed. So here it says local Active Directory. Okay, so at this point we are going to try to connect to that server, but the problem is this. If I show you, this is where our domain controller IP address is. But remember, we are getting an IP addresses from our local router. So if you try to do something like, let's see. If you try to do something like this, see, it's not working. Or maybe this, both are not working. So how can we fix this? So you're gonna go to your adapter, open the network, because we need to point this machine to talk to our domain controller, not through our own home DNS and all that stuff. So we're gonna open our adapter, go to your Ethernet option, not in status. You're just gonna move from there to Ethernet. Click on change adapter, and then right click on your Ethernet, go to properties, so here you make sure that we disable IPv6, because we did that on our domain controller, and on IPv4, this is the important part right here, the DNS. We need to use this IP address to talk to our domain controller, 192.168.1.253. 192.168.1, and then we're going to use 253 here. You can put alternative DNS, maybe just 888. This is a Google, I guess, and then we're going to say OK. So, alright, cool, that's done. Now let's close this down, and let's do the same process again. Settings. In Settings, we're going to go to Accounts. And here we're going to click on Access Work or School. We're going to click on Connect. Again, there are easy way to do these things. I'm just doing it so that you know exactly where to go. And later on in my other labs, I'm going to show you some tricks, like do all of the stuff in an easy way with commands and stuff like that. So this will be like a more of advanced learning for you. So here we're going to click on Join this device to a local Active Directory. And we should get a response now from our domain controller. So if I just type HQ, nothing with that. If I type hq.jobskillshare.org, it is going out and getting a reply, and got the reply. So remember, we added a help desk account. So if everything is working correctly, I should be able to just type HQ help desk and put the password, and this should work. They should say, welcome to this domain, you're connected now, and now this machine will be controlled. So you see right here, it even tells you, what would you like to do with this account? This account should be an administrator on this machine. And you can click next. And that's it, restart your PC. And restart it. So this machine is now being managed. What happened here? Basically, this machine is connected to this machine, and anyone that is being an administrator in this domain controller can now administer this machine. If I go to my domain controller now, here, put the input key, and log in quickly to my domain controller. So if we go in there right now, let me make it bigger. If we go in there and we open Active Directory and click on Computers, we're going to wait a little bit. We'll let it finish. So you see right here, Staff. I just did a refresh. So you see right here, now anyone in this user section, you can add as many users you want to, and they can log in. Of course not at the same time, but they can log in and use that machine. And then you can do many things. You can, like, basically you can limit them. You can say they can log in after 6. You can run some scripts on it. You can do so many different things from this area now. And this is kind of like mostly how businesses work, So at this point, it's just that's it. This is your whole course what you're taking on jobskillshare.org. Let's just go back here. The course that you're taking here, Active Directory User Management, basically kind of shows you all of that stuff after this. What happens to a user, groups, stuff like that in Active Directory. You learn all of that from this course. Now, just one thing I want to tell you, that it took so much time for you to do this stuff. And, with one server and one client, and you're almost done because you really can't do much with it. And you're going to spend too much time just setting up things, which is not even part of your job. And that's where I know a lot of people can learn a lot of things, but this learning will really not benefit you. The learning that will really benefit you is going to be something like in this labs that you have. Remember, in just one lab, in one certification, in one module, you get a full domain controller, another server, 3 servers with 3 clients. Like I said, this is a $48,000 value right here. All of these lab routers, switches, VMware environment, virtualization. This is designed for you to become an IT pro, and for people who are actually an IT pros and they're doing home labs. For them, this is a must, because you know how much time we spend on these things. So if you want to learn this thing, then it's already ready for you. And when the time is like 37 minutes, you can go back to 60 right away. And you can learn it. Once you learn 2 or 3 times, you do one module, you do it 3 times, you really don't need that again. You don't need to stick with it for 1 year to do that one module, So you can also just jump into different labs and do these things. And that's why I like to push my members to go for these labs, because they're very powerful and you learn a lot. So to get those, you just go to the membership, get the premium membership. You automatically get these labs for 1 year, and with that we give you 200 plus courses. There's a video courses from our partners, and plus our courses, which is this. I mean, it's just a value that is unbeatable. So thank you so much for watching this video. At this point, our lab is done. After this is a domain joined computer. At this point, I can go here and do the input, and you see right here help desk is, and if I logged in with the help desk account right now on this client machine, this is it. That's a good scenario for you and how to do everything from scratch. Like I said, jump into the course after this and learn those things and apply it on your machines. And when you're ready to advance it, then go for the labs, practice labs with us, and then try to do all these other courses that we have developed with our partner. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you have any questions, let me know. I know this video is a little boring, got too big, but again, I think it will help a lot of people. It will help us too. Thanks so much.